Five generations into the Galaxy range, Samsung has equipped the S5 with its best camera yet. But does this make it good enough to be your next smartphone? Let's find out. I'm Lexi Savides for CNET. This is a camera review of the Samsung Galaxy S5. Let's start with the external configuration first. If you're familiar with any other of the Galaxy smartphones from Samsung, you'll know that the S5 is quite a bit different. On the outside, there's a nice dimpled grip on the back, which makes it quite easy to hold in a landscape configuration if you're shooting photos like this. Of course, if you're in portrait and you don't have a case, it's just as easy too. Your hand doesn't slip around the back of the case at all, which is a nice change. You can also use the volume rocker as a shutter button. So when you're in the camera app, all you need to do is press down on the volume rocker and it will take the photo for you. The lens itself is a fixed aperture at f2.2, also fixed focal length. If you want to see how it stacks up compared to the other competitors, you can check this comparison table over on CNET. Now let's take a look at some of the actual features in the app. There's a settings cog. Now this will basically bring up all of your contextual menu options. You can choose your ISO level, you can choose your picture size, you can decide to turn on burst shooting or not. You can also change your metering mode. So for example, if you're a portrait fan like me, you can change it to spot metering and leave it on that and you're happy, but you also have center weighted and matrix there as well if you want to choose them. Elsewhere, you can choose to record in 4K video, although the frame rate is a little bit stuttery, so you're going to need a really fast SD card if you're recording to SD, and also make sure that your computer's fast enough to play it back. You can use a bunch of different effects, such as your vintage effects for your Instagram look, faded color, grayscale, cartoon, fisheye, and more. You can actually even download some from the Samsung store. You also get HDR and selective focus. This is slightly different to what HTC offers with the One M8 in that it's all software based. It's not actually getting any depth information from a second camera. If you want to activate selective focus on the S5, there's a special icon that is just here on the menu. All you need to do is tap it, turn it on, take your photo. Now it gives you some sort of selected guidelines on how you should compose your shot. Basically what you need is something in the foreground, something that's fair enough distance away in the background so there's enough difference between them, and then you can take your photo, go into playback mode, and you can actually edit that photo through selective focus and choose your different focus points, either everything in focus in the foreground, everything in focus in the background, or everything in focus altogether. It gives you a feature that's kind of similar to what you're trying to achieve if you're using a DSLR in shallow depth of field. Obviously, because it's entirely software based, it is not as good, and there are some obvious little blur images that you get when you are shooting things that are not exactly up to Samsung's kind of guidelines, but it's a decent feature if you want to use it, and it's nice to have nonetheless. Some other features that Samsung has hidden away in this mode tab include beauty face, your action shots, things like that that we saw in the S4 to have a bunch of burst shots all put together in one frame. Virtual tour, which I don't really see the point of, but it's really good, I guess, if you're trying to show someone your brand new home or something like that. Dual camera, which uses the front and the rear cameras simultaneously to take a shot, so you can take a selfie and take a photo of what you're looking at the same time. Also, very fortunately, Samsung has decided to hide or get rid of a couple of the features on the S4 that were pretty gimmicky. Those are still available, but you have to download them separately from the Samsung App Store. Overall, when it comes to photo quality, the S5 is a really good all-rounder. It still does struggle in low light situations. The lens, as I mentioned a bit earlier, is quite sharp in the middle, but it does drop off towards the sides. If you're looking for pretty good all-round smartphone photos that are really punchy in terms of their color, some good sharpness, especially at lower magnifications, then the S5 will suit you really, really well. The only issue might be if you are a pixel peeper and you want that incredible quality at 100% magnification. Most people probably don't, but if you're a photographer, you probably want that extra leeway for things like cropping. You're not going to find all of that on the S5, but I think it's a pretty good compromise for what you get. This is a camera review of the Samsung Galaxy S5. If you want to check out more information plus plenty more photo samples, you can head over to CNET right now.